Hi there, this is following on from the last video on georeferencing a map. Um, so we're covering how to do digitizing a map in ArcGIS desktop, and in this video I'm going to cover setting up the database, the geodatabase with the files in it, some of the files in it, digitizing our contacts, and then also applying the symbology for the contacts. So we'll just go ahead and get stuck in. So the approach to digitizing that I'm going to take in these sets of videos is to draw the contacts and then make sure they're all kind of meeting, so that there's no gaps and that sort of thing. And then we can generate the unit polygons based on the areas defined by those contacts. So the reason we need to separate out the contacts from the units themselves, the unit polygons, is that contacts could be accurate, or they could be approximate, or they could be inferred. So they're a separate thing from the polygon boundary, which can only have one style. So a polygon boundary can only have one style, and generally when we're mapping geology, also your polygons will there'll be two polygons that meet at a boundary. So if we tried to use a dash line for that, and the dashes were out of sync, then you wouldn't see your dash line, you might see a solid line, or it would look different. So we cannot really symbolize that in the correct way. So just a little bit about setting it up. So one of the things we want to do is come in here, so just open up ArcGIS if it isn't open already, so customer Windows Catalog. We can click on that Catalog button there, and then just look in the Home folder. I really recommend using the Home folder for this work. That's the same folder that the map is in. So I've made a GIS data GDB, and first thing I want to do is just make it the default geodatabase, so that when we're working, things will automatically want to save in there. So I've got this topo data here already in this feature data set, and I want to make a new feature data set. So right click on that and then go new, and this is coming off the screen, sorry, but that does say feature data set. And we want to give it a name, and we're going to call that Geology, and we'll just have NZGD 2000 NZTM. So if you're looking for that, you can go to Projected Coordinate Systems, National Grids, New Zealand, NZGD 2000, New Zealand Parameters Mercator, Projection, and we click on this Add to Favorites button. This has already been added to the favourites, so I can't do that now. So select it, go next, next, finish. Don't need to fill in that other stuff. And now we've got this geology feature data set. So feature data set just allows us to have relationships stored between the different data sets. So that's if we want to set up topology at some point, it's a good idea, and it kind of acts like a little bit of a folder in GIS as well. So next thing we want to do is go new feature class, and we're going to call it contacts, and it's going to be line features. Go next, and in here we want to actually give it a field called accuracy, and that should be of type text. And 50 characters should be plenty of space for that. So we want to give a field called accuracy, just double click in there and start typing, and then we want to, that's the drop down, we want to type text. We're going to put in that field accurate or approximate. So we go finish. So now that we've created that, usually that just actually gets dropped straight into your map. So just check that you're in data view now, and you've got example map portion as the only layer showing, and then we've got our contacts up here. You can use the pan tool to just center this a bit better. Might just make this a little bit bigger so that I can have it centered on the scale. Okay, now we're ready to go. So the first thing I want to do is bring up Customize, Toolbars, and then Editor. So in ArcGIS you need to, let me just leave this hovering down here. When you're editing data, working on this data here, you need to be in this editing mode. Otherwise everything that you're doing is essentially view only. And we just want to make sure we want to turn snapping back on. It's probably on by default unless you turn it off like I did in this other step. So customize toolbars and then use snapping. So what we're going to do is make sure all the features snap to each other. So those are all highlighted. Now we move on to digitizing our contacts. So the contacts layer is in the map. We can go to Editor, Start Editing. An alternative approach is to right click on contacts and go to Edit Features, Start Editing. And what you notice is that nothing's kind of happening. That's because at some point I've closed the Create Features dialog. So you just need to click on this Create Features button here. I think it's available via Editing Windows Create Features as well. So bring that on, and what I'm going to do is just auto hide the catalog. We don't need to see that so much as we're going. Now we've got contacts here, and let's actually go ahead and make these contacts green, so they maybe a little bit thicker, just so they show up pretty well. And to edit it, we need to just click on this. So this is active. So you're just coming in here to create features. And so what I'm going to do is draw the bounds first, the boundary area. And just for simplicity, I'm keeping it in the same document. Now you could put the coordinates in directly for these things as well. There are ways of doing that. Now unfortunately the snapping isn't working with this. So what we have to do, so I've just clicked to create nodes along this line, and the snapping isn't working when you within a feature that you're editing. So what I can do is just finish it here with a little gap. Then I come back to this editing tool, double click on it, and now when I drag that on, you can see it's snapping onto contact's endpoint. So you can either double click to finish that, or right click and say finish sketch. So we've just drawn our first line. Now we can just click off there. We want to click back onto contacts, and now we can start digitizing the rest of our contacts. So I'm going to start here. And you might want to zoom in if you want to get it more accurate. And we're going to finish this line here. You can hold down the middle mouse button to pan. So starting at this edge here, and we're actually going to double click to finish this one here, and we're assuming that the next part is actually an accurate contact. So we're going to click here to start on that point. This is so we can give that line a different style. So keep on clicking, 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 clicking. Another way you can finish is to right click, finish sketch. being sure to snap on for the next part. This is approximate again, this boundary. Making sure we snap to this one as we go. We don't want to have any gaps. And then finish sketch. And we've just got one more contact to do, this one through here. We start here. And then we'll finish that. So now what we can do is go editor and save edits. It's a good idea to do that once you've done a bunch of lines, just so that you lock those in. And we can do editor, next thing we need to do actually, is to fill in the attributes in the attribute table. So we right click on contacts and say open attribute table. So this is a key thing, is that we want to fill in data about each of these. Now one approach is to actually do that while you're creating the features. So for this you're also going to want to use the select features tool in this toolbar. So we select a feature so we can see which one it is in the attribute table. So I'm going to start by selecting this one here, which is my line that should be accurate. And just come in here and type in accurate. Now there's a little bit of a shortcut here, and rather than having to do each one individually, we can do select multiple ones at the same time. So I'll select a few there, and then I also want to hold down shift and select this one down here. Now this first one that we drew, remember, was the bounds, and we're just going to leave that as null. We don't need to necessarily put any symbol there, although you could. And then we're going to go to this here to just filter for the selected records, and we can right click here and use this thing called field calculator. You can use this for doing kind of formulas to calculate things in your attribute table, but here we're just going to use it to bulk apply. I'll just put in double quotes approximate as a text there. So we go OK. It's going to calculate those, and it's just made them that. I'll turn off this filter, and now that we've done this, we've got this data all entered in. We can go in here and change the symbology. But before I do that, I'm just going to go stop editing, and it will prompt you to save your edits. Let's save those. Let's close the attribute table for now, and we go into contacts and go to properties. So this is the layer properties dialog we're opening up now, and what we want to do is go to the symbology tab, and instead of plotting it as a single symbol, we're actually going to plot it based on the accuracy field. So we're going to go to categories, unique values, and the value field is accuracy, and then we want to add all values. Let's remove null and uncheck all other values. Then we want to double click on accurate, and let's make this a black line. That's 1 point. Go OK, and then for the approximate, we also want to use a black line, but we want to edit this symbol so that's a dashed line. The dashes here I've found don't look that great, so I go to usually cartographic line, and then go to this template, and what I usually do is drag that along and then fill in a few squares like that. Something like this usually looks pretty good. And then go OK, and OK, and then OK, and I'll just turn off this map portion, this thing underneath, so you can see what I've done there. So we've got some dashed lines and then this solid line through here. and we're not actually showing the outer bounding box, but it will participate when we generate the polygon. So that's what I want to cover in this video, and there's more coming up in generating